The SDGs represent an agreement amongst governments, explicitly laying goals, objectives, indicators, while civil society, the private sector and our institutions each have vital roles to play. Governments provide the glue and the financing. And if governments set up an inclusive and enabling environment, so much more is possible. Our next speaker takes us inside the halls of government. Let's welcome His Excellency Mr. Benno Bättig, Secretary General of the Federal Department of Foreign Affairs, Government of Switzerland.
Good afternoon, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to participate in this year's Women's Empowerment Principles event, and it is a great pleasure for me to address such a diverse crowd and to be among the distinguished speakers today. Since I am standing between you and an exciting panel, I do not want to elaborate on the many achievements that have been made here at the UN when it comes to putting gender equality front and center in recent discussions on sustainable development and financing for development. Instead, let me break it down to one, albeit remarkable conclusion. In Addis Ababa last July, the international community came to the conclusion that achieving gender equality and empowering women and girls is, in fact, smart economics. Full stop. Indeed, it might be the last big resource many countries, rich and poor, can tap in to stimulate growth and sustainable development. I will spare you with the exact figures, as others will certainly make a better economic case than I can. But the fact is, compelling evidence does show that reducing gender inequalities and increasing female labor force participation have sizable and beneficial effects for the overall economy. Put it differently, reducing inequality of opportunities for girls and women means removing a major obstacle to sustainable development, economic growth, and the eradication of poverty. Switzerland was a strong advocate of this movement to put gender equality at the center of the discussion on financing sustainable development, as well as for a standalone goal on gender equality in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We firmly believe that gender equality and women's and girls' empowerment are crucial for the realization of sustainable development, economic growth, and the eradication of poverty. So while 2015 was all about convincing the unconvinced, now in 2016 it's different. Concrete changes are needed in all countries, ladies and gentlemen. Politicians must eliminate existing legal and social barriers and provide women and girls with equal economic opportunities. There's no more room for excuses. The evidence is overwhelming. We know what needs to be accomplished, and we should now be focusing on how we're going about this, and we talked about that around you at the table. Priorities include measures to remove restrictions on registering businesses, owning land and other productive assets, opening a bank account, for example, and other, as inheriting property for women, measures to ensure educational attainment, decent work standards, access to quality jobs and income security, to provide access to affordable childcare, and to promote part-time work schemes. Likewise, more needs to be done to guarantee equal leadership opportunities, including in decision-making bodies in business, finance, and trade, to support women's entrepreneurship and financial inclusiveness, and to bridge the gender-digital divide. The business community, from which we will hear more in just a little while, must do its share also. This includes offering work models that do not disadvantage women, providing job security after paid maternity leave, ensuring that promotions are gender blind, and where necessary, put in place affirmative actions that help put women in managerial positions. As a host country to many companies and corporations of all sizes, and many operating throughout the world, Switzerland has taken on a particular role in the promotion of the private sector's responsibility to respect human rights and to address adverse impacts of human rights. That includes women's rights. For example, we are actively engaged in regular political dialogue with the business sector in Switzerland via the implementation of the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights, the first internationally recognized framework on how business must respect human rights. Evidently, the Women's Economic Principles, which we are celebrating today, are a tremendously useful entry point for governments to connect with businesses, and I encourage all member states to promote them nationally and further mobilize existing signatories. Why? Simply because implementation of the WEP directly supports our national efforts to achieve gender equality. Ladies and gentlemen, we heard it before, at the current rate, it will take until 2095 to achieve global gender parity in workplace. Change is long overdue. Let's develop effective strategies to reinvest gender roles and relations by involving men and boys as allies every step of the way. I count on you all to help to step it up for gender equality and not miss out on this prime opportunity that the Agenda 2030 has generated for us all. I'm looking extremely forward to the upcoming panel, and I wish you all an inspiring session. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Bättig. You provided just the context we had hoped for, and now we'll build out from it to better understand how Partners for Gender Equality can move us closer towards the world we want.